whole world, I mean, our whole little dream here on Earth is completely ruled by craving. Everyone craves. This
Hmm.
whole place, all of existence, actually, at
Sounds
every
like
level.
hell, like a definition of hell. You want something you don't have it, craving.
Yeah,
Hell.
we're all just chasing stuff.
Mm,
And the real characteristic of awakening is the cessation of that.
right.
You mature out of chasing and holding on and seeking and wanting this and wanting that and wanting so many things and wishing life could be different and this constant incessant discontentment with what is here and with what is now and with what is your life. The beauty of awakening is that you begin to wake up from that dream, that nightmare, as you would put it.
Yeah. Yeah. Hello, Ryan.
Hello, Ilona. How are you doing?
Very well. And you?
Good, good. Just
Well,
a cool morning in Los Angeles. So
yeah, I'm in a warm evening of Mauritius, like on the opposite side.
mm,
Okay. Well, today I'm speaking with Ryan Burton, and he's awakening and meditation teacher.
I think that that captures it. Yeah, meditation teacher is pretty much all I do. So yeah,
Hmm. Well, you have a website. It's called After Awakening.
right.
So, do you work more with people who kind of had the shift already and they are settling in and integrating, or either both?
Both, but it seems to be the case that um, a good portion of my students have already undergone a shift to some degree. So unfortunately, a lot of what I teach um, apparently it's incomprehensible to beginners.
Mhm.
So I do try to. I always teach the basics, of course, of meditation, but definitely the majority of my writings and my content and my talks are um, post non-duality or talking about that whole territory.
Oh,
So
wonderful. Great.
yeah,
Well, the show is called Awakening Now. So it's really before, during, and after. Everything is included.
right,
Can only be now.
right.
So perhaps our conversation will be useful for people who are before, during, and especially after the shift. So before we start and get into it, can you tell me your definition of awakening? What is that?
Yeah, I would say awakening is the gradual or instantaneous cessation of identity and
Hmm.
cessation of duality. I think awakening in general is just cessation, the falling away, the cessation of greed, of hatred, of duality, of clinging, of attachment, of concern, of holding on, and really the in a way birth of all the wholesome qualities of path and what Buddhism calls the enlightenment factors. And those are all qualities. That's true. Equanimity, mindfulness, happiness. These are all things that arise and pass, but they also generally come to really characterize the life of a person who's either undergoing this shift or who this has already happened to, and it's been quite some time after the fact. So with awakening, there's so many different ways to define it, right?
Right. There are so many different awakenings too.
Yeah, and there's many different awakenings. That's right.
Mm.
Enlightenment is not a one-dimensional thing. It's very much like a gem or like a diamond. It has so many faces and aspects. But to characterize specifically the kind of awakening you and I are talking about,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to the term spiritual awakening in general. Spiritual awakening in general is, I used to be a material person. I used to be concerned with material things. And then experience or an insight or something happens, and the orientation on life shifts from being uh, this outward journey really to an inward journey into oneself and into a deeper understanding of what we are.
Mm-hmm.
But with awakening, there's this in this context, there's this specific aspect, there's these specific aspects of the loss of identification, the loss of dualistic perception, the loss of a sense of a doer, for example. And those are not necessarily, related to the term spiritual awakening in general, right? It just means you become a spiritual person.
Right.
but this but this is about the end of personhood,
Uh-huh.
so this is quite different.
Yes, this is completely different. It's
Yeah,
coming back to sanity out of insanity. That's not spiritual. It's kind of coming back to reality and
yeah,
seeing things
yeah,
as they are.
yeah. How else would you define it, actually? This is a very good question.
Um, my short version would be a fundamental shift in how we perceive ourselves, life, and everything.
Yeah.
Fundamental shift, which reveals that what I thought I was doesn't exist the way I thought it existed. And the word awakening is a bad word, actually. If keep going, if to keep going, because what we are is not asleep.
Mm-mm. Mm.
But while that shift happens, it's very, very perceivable. The life changes completely. Not the events change in that way, but the way life is being seen.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say one of the main characteristics is that it's when that moment of awakening dawns, right? Uh it's funny because some people from the Western materialist worldview, they're like, or even skeptical, people who are skeptical of all this stuff. They're like, yeah, how do you know it was just like not in your mind or something that you fabricated?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, if this could be fabricated, I think it would be the ultimate fabrication of my life for sure. If this could be constructed or engineered or faked, that I mean, it would receive the ultimate reward for that being the case. But this is really, awakening is such a visceral and undeniable shift. I mean, people's entire lives can change for better or for worse as a result of it. I mean, we hear very often with relationships, if two people, they start a relationship in a particular mode, like the non-awakened mode, and then one of them undergoes this process and the other doesn't, it causes huge problems,
Right.
because now one person is in a completely different phase, in a completely different way of looking at life, and the other person in the relationship feels after some time like, you're not even the person I married anymore. You've changed so rapidly as a result of this. For most, I'd say for a lot of people, it's not that their preferences change, right? It seems that if you like Indian food, or um, if you like Mexican food, that's probably going to be the same after the fact. But how the person interacts with and how they relate to the world is completely different. Before awakening, you really have the sense that things are outside of you. you really have the sense that there's such a thing as other people and the external world. And after the awakening, that sense vanishes. I mean, you can still have your distractions and have periods where you slip up or you have a reaction or whatever, but the fundamental view of how you relate to this and what this is completely changed. Yeah. I mean, when you feel that, for example, like all beings are within your heart. I mean, that's just not just a normal way to go through life, you know?
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So how did that shift happen in your experience? What happened?
It's interesting. Um, for me, I had a pretty, I guess I would say standard or normal upbringing. I grew up in the early 90s in Southern California. And yeah, my mom is Thai and Buddhist, and dad's a white guy. Um, ancestry goes back to Britain and Switzerland. And he grew up in Iowa. They met in a hospital in the late 80s in Los Angeles. They were both working there. And so I had that mixed race experience growing up. So that was unique. And um, being at Thai summer camp school, there's a temple in North Hollywood, and it's a city here in LA. I would be sent there for the summers to learn Thai, and every morning we'd say the Thai national anthem, and then they'd send us into the temple to meditate for a few minutes. They didn't teach us anything about Buddhism or anything about meditation, but there was a Buddhist statue, and there were monks and nuns, so I had
Mm-hmm.
some exposure to it. But my sister and I, we were the only uh, not full Asian kids in that
Uh-huh.
school,
Uh-huh.
so the bullying was extremely severe. So I think it that was uh, suffering is generally what leads people to the path. I mean, if you don't have some form of discontent, there's really no reason to seek any of this. So I think I had that pretty young, and then as I got older, I realized that my dad had drug problems, and those drug problems eventually took his life when I was 19.
Oh man, I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. Um, so I think the pain of seeing him decay and the pain of losing him as well, it really made me just extremely interested in uh, a different approach to life. When I was 18, I did my first Vipassana retreat. Um, it was suggested at the time because I was becoming interested in meditation, and I had these roots with Buddhism, and it was like this return to that, even though I forgotten it for so long. And yeah, I did my first Vipassana retreat in the Goenka tradition. Immediately, as soon as I turned 18, I signed up for it, and I turned 18. I turned eight. My birthday's at the end of October, and this retreat was in December at the
Mm-hmm.
beginning, so
Mm-hmm.
literally within a month. And yeah, it was a very difficult retreat. It's a very, very difficult retreat. But I remember about around the fifth day or something, it started to get easy, and I was able to manage the pain. And the retreat wasn't as much as much unendurable suffering as it had been after that point. And it's not that I actually didn't experience anything profound in the meditation, like in the actual practice sessions. Like, yeah, there were these body sensations and strange energetics and stuff like that, but nothing particularly nothing particularly unique. But after the retreat was over, it was on the 10th day. They allow you to talk, and now you haven't talked in 10 days, and now everyone's talking. I'm telling you, if you ever want to see true happiness, see a group of people that haven't talked for 10 days and now they're talking. Like,
Oh wow.
it's incredible. Yeah, it's a very divine experience. Everyone's so happy. Everyone's so happy to be able to talk. And I remember I just left the dining hall where everyone was chatting, and it was snowing outside, and I just walked into the snow through the trees, and for the first time in my life, my mind stopped. My mind stopped, and everything was still moving. The trees were responding to the gentle breeze, and the snowflakes were still falling. Everything was still moving, but at the same time, nothing was moving. It was this cutting stillness, and this feeling of peace. I never knew peace in my life, right? I had no idea. I had no idea that peace even existed.
Mhm, mhm.
And my heart just cracked open, and yeah, I just felt this overwhelming peace and contentedness. And I thought, wow, if I died after this, it would have all been worth it. 18 years was worth just this.
Wow.
This is exquisite. This is sublime. So that's all it took. I mean, it just took that 5 minutes of timeless peace. May have been a little longer, I'm not sure, but um that was really my initial, I guess you could say, opening. It wasn't the non-dual opening or awakening, but it gave me an experience, and this really the sense of peace and beauty that made me want to pursue it further. So I did.
Mm. Now we
Yeah.
call it a glimpse, right?
Yeah, yeah, we call it a glimpse. That's right. Yeah. So I think a year after that, or within a year, yeah, within a year, um, my temple, Dhammakaya temple, they have many branch centers all over the world. They're a temple in Thailand, uh, and I had been going there to practice meditation. They opened this meditation coach training program back then in 2012,
Mhm.
and yeah, and everyone at the temple was like, "Hey, you should really go do it. It's 3 months." And at the time, I was just in community college, so I decided to take a semester off and go. And that was a 90-day retreat, and it was um, the most brutal, difficult experience of my life. I think I think retreats of durations that are that long, um, really it takes a mature practitioner to make the best of it. So yeah, anyone who's really young, of course, I'd say if you can handle it, go ahead. But if your mind's still doing a lot of clinging and a lot of holding on and attempting to control, a concentrated environment like that can be very, very difficult for a person. So for me, it was tough. Yeah. But
Oh, you went through it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like this is the thing. This is the good thing about uh conditions like that. You make so many mistakes so fast that instead of taking 3 years to make all those mistakes, you make them in 3 months.
Oh, good. So you learn 3 years worth of experience,
Yeah,
wisdom.
possibly. Because my skull is very thick, so I didn't understand. So I think for me, it would have taken 3 years to get through that nonsense. Probably would have taken 3 years to realize, using force in meditation is not helpful and it can be damaging.
Hmm.
So yeah, so I had to learn that the hard way. But that's the majority of my background. Um, Instead of going to college like most of my friends, with my father having passed away, I had to be present for my family and my mother and everything. So yeah, but fortunately, it grief like that and losing someone that you love like that, it's so profound that really a lot can fall away. So we often think that awakening is practicing meditation and studying and listening to Dharma talks and interviews and things like that. But awakening is, if you allow it, it's just life and the things that happen and the conditions that you face and challenges that you're dealing with. They're all a part of that process. It's very normal that when a person undergoes a big shift, their whole life blows up. Why is that? You know?
It's going.
Yeah. Why is that? Well, the reason that things get difficult after a big shift is because your non-duality has to be tempered.
Right.
Your state has to be refined and tested. And the way to do that is for challenges to arise. So with were you gonna say something?
I wanted to say, if somebody is listening who is looking for awakening, thinking that, oh my God, once I awaken, everything is going to be easy peasy, rosy, happy all the time. So this is something to rewind and listen again.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And of course there is a great deal of bliss and peace and happiness that opens up, and so much more meaningfulness can ultimately become the case for a person. I mean, you really do get liberated from a lot of your nonsense. But that doesn't change the fact that after summer, fall comes, and after fall, winter comes, and after winter, spring comes. You still have the seasons of life. The people that you love and care about are still going to get sick and old and pass away, and you'll still have the difficulties. It's just that you don't see those difficulties and conditions as outside of you anymore. And in the deeper stages of awakening, it's possible that there is so much abandon, there's so much release and letting go, that even very, very difficult things don't touch you the same way that they used to, or they don't make you suffer nearly as much or for nearly as long. That is the case. But generally, and especially up until that point, even after the initial awakening, there's usually a trial period. it's like it's like it happens and it opens up, and now it's in this incubation phase. And people describe that as like a dark night, or they're in some kind of an abyss. What has happened is that with the awakening, it's like you can imagine this massive descent of light coming down into your system, into your body, and into your energy. And that is pushing out now all of these stagnant, discordant, stuck energies and mental formations in the system. So it all comes to the surface.
So it's a massive detox, right?
Yeah, it's a massive detox. That's right. It's a spiritual, mental, emotional, physical. For a lot of people, this process is even physical,
Right, that's
like
true. Yeah.
actually causes physical changes. So, and depending on the person of a particular dimension of experience or dimension of life will be emphasized. But it's very standard. You know, if you're going through an awakening and your whole life is falling apart, I don't want you to think that this is unique, you know, that like uh as if hundreds of thousands of people have not gone through this before, or you know, we look at the vastness of the cosmos, could be millions or infinite number of beings that have undergone a similar process in the past, present, and future. So when you undergo the awakening, you've really entered this path, and this territory has its own rules. Like it's not apart from life at all. It's not separate from life at all, but it has its own rules. It has its own language. You know, the
Is there a way back? You know, can I have?
maybe maybe I just haven't heard of it. Maybe dementia, you know, dementia may
Ah,
be a way back. You
okay.
completely it ever happened.
That's really one-way flip.
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes you may hear that it's not what you want, you know.
Yeah. Well, that's the lesson. It's not about what you want.
That's,
That's the that is the lesson. So, you know, so many people going through this are like, I didn't choose this, you know, I didn't want this.
yeah,
And
literally, it's not what you want. It's
yeah,
it's one-way ticket to some interesting ride.
yeah. It's all this part of this process of surrendering and letting go, and the thinning of this sense of self. And you know, for me, as part of my awakening and my journey and capacities, I found that consciousness is multidimensional. You don't only exist in one place in space and time, or one level or layer in space and time. So in the physical dimension, you have the sense that I didn't choose this, I didn't want this, what the hell is going on?
Let me out of here.
Yeah, exactly. But what you find, or at least what I found, is that there is this guiding nature.
Mhm.
There's an aspect of yourself that's outside time, and some people call that, you know, the higher nature or the higher self, and it's distinguishable from uh, just the awakeness or just the emptiness nature of phenomena, right? It's particularly this aspect of oneself that is guiding this process.
Would you call it like spirit guides or angels or some
I actually call it higher self.
higher
Yeah,
self?
I actually call it that. Yeah.
Okay.
It's just not this, you know, permanent, immutable essence.
Mhm.
So doesn't violate that self term thing in Buddhism, but there really is. Um, I see the mind as an onion,
Mhm.
or this as an onion, and this physical layer is the outer layer of the onion. And if you go down a layer, quote, down a layer, you get the dreaming body or the astral body. And down another one, you have the mental body and the causal body. So you have these sheets of consciousness that are attributed with uh, a particular experiencing apparatus. The one in this layer is this physical body,
Right.
but in dreams, it's a non-physical body. So a few layers in, there's this aspect of you that is outside of time as we experience it here, and this is the voice of guidance. So a lot of people at some point in their journey, they'll start to have this sense that something is really leading them along, something is facilitating this process, and that may communicate with them in dreams. It may communicate with them in certain experiences. You could also call it intuition, right? That's a general term for it. But one of the questions that I had at some point in my awakening was, what is this thing? Because for me, it was very specific. Like, it wasn't just a general, we're here to support you, you know? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I was having dreams, and I called them the simulation dreams. So,
Interesting. Tell me.
yeah, yeah. The first one that really stuck out, and this took a while. I think this didn't happen until probably 2 years after my initial awakening. And so that would have been 10 years after I began meditation. So 10 years after I began practicing, I started having these very unique dreams. And one of them was in a parking garage. And, and I'm a little demon, and a little demon guy, like 10 feet in front of me. And he runs at me, and I tried to send him loving kindness, and he just rips my throat out. And then the dream rewinds, and he's standing in front of me again, and he runs at me again. And this time I try to fight him, like physically fight him.
Mm-hmm.
I lose. I get defeated, and the dream rewinds again. And now, so it's the third round. And the interesting thing about this phenomena was that I didn't know that the dream was being rewinded. Every single time this thing was running at me, it was like it was the first time it was running at me.
Oh, wow.
So,
Mm-hmm.
so now it's running at me, and then for some reason, I just decide to open my mouth like very large, and I just eat the guy. I just swallow him. And when I eat this demon, the whole parking garage gets illuminated. I become 100% lucid, fully aware. Now I remember that the dream was just rewinded 3 times. This at the hospital, at hospitals, they have these diagnostic screens that stand on a kind of rolling
Mm-hmm.
platform or rolling base. So one of those appeared, a screen, and the screen spoke to me, and it said something along the lines of the voice of childhood, that voice that so many of us heard as kids, that told us that we could do great and incredible things, and that we could change the world and change ourselves. That voice of hope is never lost. It is only obscured and drowned by the voices of the world. We just forget who we are, what we are, and what we're supposed to do, because we let other people influence us too much. Something along those lines. It was a while ago. So, and then I woke up, and what was interesting was, like, when I heard this voice, it really did remind me of that voice, that inner voice of hope in childhood, that can really just get wiped out by the traumas and the difficulties of growing up. And so the first thought I had was, what was pressing the rewind button? Because it certainly wasn't my conscious mind that
Mm-hmm.
was
Mm-hmm.
causing this effect. So what was causing that effect? And a lot of people talk about guidance. A lot of people talk about this inner voice, and they communicate with that. It's often described in channeling, and a lot of spiritual work is about contact with this voice. But my question was, where is the voice coming from? What is it? Right? What is it? I want to know what it is. And that was a very deep inquiry that led into these deeper layers, or deeper planes of consciousness. So, and what I ultimately discovered was that there is this formless higher self a cosmic layer or a cosmic consciousness that is guiding not only this particular incarnation, but hundreds of thousands of incarnations. It's like it's playing hundreds of thousands of simulations simultaneously. So when a person has a deep, or like they have that specific awakening where they have all of their past lives recalled, that's because at this particular layer, that information is that level of you is experiencing all of those lives simultaneously. So
Wow, sounds intense. I don't remember any past lives. Not yet.
yeah, it's non-duality generally is about the nature of experience, right? In Buddhism, they say all experience, all phenomena are empty.
Mm-hmm.
In Vedanta, they say all phenomena are within the heart of the self. And that those general absolute view maxims are the case in my awakening, but there was this added dimension of of experiencing the various layers of consciousness. So in this physical layer, the mind is appearing as this room. Mind is appearing as this conversation you and I are having. But a few hours ago, the mind presence was appearing as the dream that I was
Mm-hmm.
having. And before that, it was appearing as a conversation I was having, outside with my friend before I slept. So whatever appears, whatever is being experienced, the mind is appearing as that. Presence is appearing as that. And that is the exact same case with all of these layers of consciousness or these strange supernormal experiences. If you step into a computer mainframe and all of your past lives appear to you, your mind is appearing as that. Presence is appearing as that.
So do you
So
put mind and equals presence? Mind and presence the same?
yeah, yeah. I distinguish mind from, like, the way that I'm using mind right now is different from personality. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah,
It's like interface.
yeah. I describe when I use mind, I say like all this is appearing, all this is your mind. Everything is mind. Everything is mind only. It just means that it's not possible to distinguish where the experiencer is versus experience. Like, there's no way to distinguish where you end and everything else begins. Those dualistic lines, those barriers are not actually there. They just appear to be there as a result of Buddhism calls them dualistic tendencies or ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
The insight has not been sufficient enough to dispel that particular notion. We're in the dream of separateness. So awakening is really just awakening from the dream and its various aspects. These aspects of the dream that cause us to suffer are separateness, doership. There's really this sense that there's a me in here that's making things happen. But
Right.
really all that's here are these processes. For example, self. Self is for most people is just memory, intention, and choice. Choice is related to intention, right? And perception. So you have to know what you're looking at. That's perception. I know that I'm talking to you. That's perception. Memory is the fact that I'm able to orient myself in time, and choice is just the exercising of intention. These are just mental processes.
Right.
They're literally streams of phenomena, but we conceive them to be permanent entities, or we conceive them to be actually solid, findable things, and they're not. They're just
It's
not.
it's fascinating that we can believe into that there is this someone here having these choices and life is happening to me. It's fascinating that illusion, delusion, the fog is believable,
Yeah, yeah. That's why it's called ignorance.
right?
Because once it's dispelled, you're like, how did I ever buy into this? The whole world. I mean, our whole little dream here on Earth is completely ruled by craving. Everyone craves. This
Hmm.
whole place, all of existence, actually, at
Sounds
every
like
level.
hell, like a definition of hell. You want something you don't have it, craving.
Yeah,
Hell.
we're all just chasing stuff,
Mm,
and the real characteristic of awakening is the cessation of that.
right.
You mature out of chasing and holding on and seeking and wanting this and wanting that and wanting so many things and wishing life could be different, and this constant incessant discontentment with what is here and with what is now and with what is your life.
That sucks.
The beauty of awakening is that you begin to wake up from that dream, that nightmare, as you would put it.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. And what would be your advice to people who are wanting to wake up from this nightmare?
You know,
I mean,
strange.
working with so many people, you can see tendencies, so you can see what works.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting. I come from a very traditional background when it comes to meditation and awakening. You know, all my training was in Theravada and um, also in Dzogchen and these very old systems. And the old way was to practice a lot, and I can attest that the old way works. You know,
Hmm.
I meditated for 7 years, and it's not that awakening is caused necessarily by meditation, but it's that meditation allows you to see what is already there, and practice allows you to become more intimate with what is here, more intimate with the present moment and with actuality. A
Hmm.
lot of spirituality is about ideas. A lot of spirituality is about beliefs. Even non-duality, we pick up these beliefs.
Yeah.
It's like there is no time. I actually don't know if there's time or not. I'm not going to say, that just because time is not perceivable doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So we have a lot of assumptions that come with non-duality as a result of listening to other teachers. What is profound about awakening and inquiry and meditation is that you put aside all the beliefs, you put aside everything that everyone else has said and done, and you just investigate experience. You just look at what is mind, what is thought, what is the body, what is this? And by orienting to the truth of what is, you liberate yourself from the lies and the falsehoods and the convictions that you've accepted or that you've enmeshed yourself in. This orientation away from your thoughts and from the narrative mind and from your beliefs is so liberating. Initially, it is terrifying. But once you arrive at this place where it doesn't matter what happens, doesn't matter what you think, doesn't matter what you feel, you're free to a great extent, from especially compared to who you used to be and how you used to function. But today I don't know, I guess like some teachers encourage people not to meditate. They say, I love you, G. Krishnamurti. I've always liked him. And he says meditation is awful. Like, don't ever do it. It's not good. And I think he's just upset that his teachers let him down. And I think meditation is the tried and true approach, and that if it didn't work, if it didn't have value, the Buddha wouldn't have taught it. All these Zen masters wouldn't have taught it. So meditation and prayer, I think, are powerful, and for people that are wanting to start, Miracle of Mindfulness by Thich Nhat Hanh is really good, and Power of Now is a great place to begin. You know, yeah, and anything by Ramana Maharshi, of course, is incredible.
Ah,
So,
the true
yeah,
source.
yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
So, because the case is that, with meditation and with doing training or a practice where you're really letting go. This is the thing. If you're meditating and your meditation is holding on, it's building this sense of a self, it's building this sense of a controller, then I can see that that doesn't help, right? But if meditation is really just release, and it's really just looking and it's seeing and it's becoming more sensitive to what is arising, becoming more intimate with what is the case, with reality, that's very powerful. We usually don't give ourselves much time to just notice what's going on.
Right.
We're always doing. We're always trying. We're always attempting to become something or get something. Life for us is so transactional, and so much of spirituality is transactional. I go to this workshop, I learn from this teacher, I do this, I do that because I'm trying to get this thing called enlightenment.
Right.
I'm
Oh,
trying.
they watched this video. Somebody watches
Yeah,
this video and wants to get in line.
yeah, which is fine, right? I understand that, but the point
With this
the
video,
point
it's fine. Everything.
for us, it's okay,
Yeah.
for, but it's also important to see that it's possible to just stare at a wall and not have that be a transaction. Like,
Yeah.
it's possible to just be without an orientation towards an outcome. And that is, I mean, for some people that is terrifying to
Right.
let go of wanting, to let go of control, to let go of needing an outcome.
Yeah. Especially letting go of wanting to control.
Yeah. The fundamental truth, though, is that whatever happens and whatever doesn't happen, whatever you get and whatever you lose, your mind is appearing as that. Presence is appearing as that. Whether you hold on or whether you let go, the holding on is awake. The letting go is awake. You have this idea that you're going to become something other than what you are. And when you arrive there, you find it's none other than what you are.
It's so funny in language. It says human being. It doesn't say human doing or human
Yeah.
becoming. It's human being. It's just
Yeah.
being.
That's right. We've today life is so fast. The pace that things move compared to even 30 years ago is just unrecognizable. And compare that to 300 years ago, life was much slower for a lot of people.
Hmm.
And we have this sense now that we just can't catch up. There's just too much to do. There's too much going on. There's this perpetual sense of being behind, and this sense that we're not really present for what's happening. And the
Mm-hmm.
reason people feel that way, the reason they feel that life is getting by, is because it literally is. It actually is getting by. You're distracted most of the time. That's the problem. Most of the time, our attention is fractured. It's in these devices, it's in all the things that we have to do, it's in the duties that we have. Some of us have kids or whatever. There's so much that the world asks of us.
Right.
And then
Like 5 cats, for example.
five
Oh,
cats, exactly.
yeah.
And, and,
So much to do all day long.
and then suddenly, before we know it, 50 years has passed. I was having a conversation with my mother about this, and it was so it was so profound because I she never usually talks like this to me
Mhm.
or to anyone. And she just said, I'm 70 years old now, and it went by so fast. It feels like it was just yesterday that I came to this country, and now it's been over 30 years. I never went back home. And when I she said when she looked at her life, you know, having me and my sister, it was really um the most important thing she ever did. But it's still the case that, she's like, there's never enough time. There's never enough time. There's never enough time with the people that you love. And the reason that we have that sense is because the time we spent with them, with the people that we loved, we may not have been completely 100% present. You know, our
Mm.
attention was elsewhere. You're eating with your mother and she's talking to you, but sometimes you're on your phone and you're sitting there in the kitchen or in the living room, and all your kid wants is some attention, but you have you have to finish this email. You have to take care of this thing. And when you let all of that pile up, and when you let that begin to control and direct your life, you feel like you're out of time and that you're behind. So the power of meditation is that you begin to master your mind, you begin to master your attention. And when you can master where your attention goes and how long it stays there, all these doors open. And it's not that happiness is elsewhere. We really have this sense that if we just move to another city, or if we just go to another place, or if we just change this particular thing about our life, that it'll all be okay. And the crazy thing about samsara, the reason this whole dream spins on ignorance and forgetfulness is because we know we've done that before, and we know it doesn't change anything. Like, if you have problems, you move to another city, you're still there. The problems are in you. And we know that. But for some reason, it's like we either forget or we pretend.
I'll keep trying. Run
Yeah,
away.
it's funny. There's this place, a spiritual place, called Meher Mount. So Meher Baba blessed that place, and Yogananda and Krishnamurti used to sit there, or they had visited there. So I was there with one of the groundskeepers, just hanging out, and he was telling us the story of the whole place and everything, and it was awesome. These deer came up and started eating the peaches off the tree, and mid conversation, he's like, "Up, they're eating the peaches. They're eating the peaches. I'm gonna go tell them to stop." And so he goes outside, and he shoos them off, tells them to stop. And that's the thing with life. Like, no matter how nice you keep your garden, the deer are gonna come and eat the peaches.
Yeah, let them eat the
Now,
peaches.
yeah, now
Oh,
now the place the place where wisdom begins is when you stop pretending like every day is the first time they've eaten the peaches. like like every Christmas, your mother and father complain about XYZ. So when you're at Christmas, and this has happened 40 times for the entirety of your life, you don't need to be surprised and have a new reaction as if this is new. It's not new. We've seen this 100,000 times. There's nothing new about this. It's literally just, it's just being in the dream of that situation. It's being in
Mm.
the dream of those conditions. And we just forget. And we don't have this larger perspective. We're not zooming out. We're always caught in what is happening. But when you zoom out, you're like, oh, dude, I've seen this, I've seen this 1,000 times. Like, this is not new. There's no reason to have a reaction about this. This person always says this, and I always try to change them. Like all of that. You just drop that.
Stop that.
Drop that.
Yeah.
Odds are, odds are, the person's not going to change. You know, do what you will. Try. Be of service. Help them if you can. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, this is the thing, and I said this on a recent class. Actually, we have this assumption that everyone is here to awaken, right? That's the thing that many spiritual teachers say. We all come here specifically to awaken.
Okay, nice.
You know, right now, the look at it like this. What if some people come here to sleep?
I know a
What
lot of people like that.
what yeah, what if some people are literally here to just have the total space-time linear experience of craving, of suffering, of attachment, of clinging, because wherever they're from elsewhere in time and space, it's not like that. It's possible, it's entirely possible that you have to shut down and completely forget what you are on the other side to generate the human consciousness here. And that
Mm.
some people do that intentionally. Beings do that intentionally.
Yeah,
You
why
know, we
not?
have
Everyone is on their own path. I don't know why people came here.
exactly, exactly. We have no idea. We're like,
Mm.
yeah, we need to awaken everybody. Are you sure?
I think it's a
What
little
if
bit
that's not what?
of this savvy of the world
Yeah.
Hollywood brainwash thing.
The messianic uh the messianic approach, the messianic stream is so deep in human consciousness. We always want people to be on the boat that we're on. That's essentially what that is.
Mm.
Yeah, we assume that our boat is the right boat, first of all.
Here we go. Let's drop that boat. It's the right
It's
boat for me, but
the
how
right
do you know
boat.
what's right for somebody else?
It's the right boat. It's the only boat, and your boat is bad. And you need
Ouch.
to get off your boat, and you need to get on my boat because you're gonna die. That's pretty much what that's all about.
Uh-huh.
And it's really just facets, ignorance within the dream. Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Wonderful. Wonderful
yeah,
dream. Let's
yeah,
wake up. Let's wake up. Let's wake up.
yeah, yeah, definitely,
Mm.
definitely. I think that would be that's a good definition of awakening too. Is that awakening is awakening from the dream of your life and what it was, because so much of what you wanted and who you wanted to become and what you valued and pursued is part of the dream of being a person, the dream of me. There's it's like all of us have this like character storyline in time for ourselves, you know? And what awakening does is it just blows that whole thing apart. And you wake up from this narrative. You see that everything that happened was thought, you know? Everything that happened was thought, feeling, reaction. Life is really like this. You you feel some things, so you think some things, then you do some things. And then based on those things that you do, you feel more things and you think more things and you do more things and you feel more things. And then you think more things and you do more things. And then you die.
Yeah.
You
It's
know?
it's the storyland. We are
Yeah.
here in the storyland. And then you die. That means it's an exit. The ride is over. Till next one.
Yeah, exactly. And like that's really it. So awakening is awakening out of the story. And my God, that story takes up everything. Everything is about me and what I want and what I need and what I need to do and where I need to go. It's all about a you that's not even there. That's the meaning of ignorance.
Yeah, it's good to joke about it and laugh about it and to see it. So otherwise
Yep.
it's tough. Well, thank you so much. It's really good fun to talk to you.
Oh yeah,
And
great.
and
I hope it was a unique conversation, you know.
oh,
So
of course it's unique conversation.
every conversation is unique.
There's no hope in that one. So where people can find you, how they can work with you or learn meditation with you.
Yeah, my website is afterawakening.com. So people can check that out. Once a week on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, I give a talk and then we do a long meditation sit. We sit for 3 hours,
Oh, nice.
sitting, sitting and walking after the fact. So it's actually quite a large chunk of time. And the reason I have designed it that way is because you could really see it as alone time,
Mm-hmm.
time purely for noticing, for awareness, for not having to do anything in particular. There's such a demand on generating an outcome that occurs in time. And for those 3 hours, you could just drop all of that and just sit around, look at stuff. If you want to pull out your journal, write, walk, sit back down, walk again. And it's just like that. So that's mainly it. Yeah. I
Sounds
teach I
interesting.
yeah, I teach that style of just inward looking and non-meditation or open awareness. And I also teach the traditional Theravada meditation systems. So yeah, but that's that.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Ilona. It was wonderful speaking with you.
Definitely, I would speak to you again.
Okay.
And thank you everyone for watching, for listening. And if you have a comment, please leave it below. Subscribe, like, and share. That's all I ask. Until next time, bye for now.